My father drove me out of his house because of my stepmother. She lied against me. The house that was once home. Malik Johnson had always believed that no matter what happened in life, his father's house would always be his safe place. The house stood on a quiet street in Atlanta, a two-story brick building with white columns and a wide porch. Malik had grown up there. Every corner held memories. His mother laughing in the kitchen before she passed, his father teaching him how to ride a bike, late-night talks about life and responsibility. But things changed the day Vanessa came into their lives. Vanessa was his stepmother. His father, Richard Johnson, married her 3 years after Malik's mother died. At first, Malik tried to accept her. He told himself his father deserved happiness. But from the beginning, Vanessa's smile never reached her eyes. She watched Malik like he was a threat. "Good morning, Vanessa," Malik would say politely. She'd respond with a tight smile. Morning. That was it. No warmth. No kindness. As Malik got older, now 24 and freshly graduated from college, Vanessa's attitude worsened. She complained about everything Malik did. He eats too much. He comes home late. He doesn't respect me. Malik tried to ignore it. What he didn't know was that Vanessa was planting seeds, dangerous ones, in his father's mind. Richard Johnson loved his son. That much was true. But he also loved peace. And Vanessa knew exactly how to use that. Late at night, when the house was quiet, she would sit beside Richard in bed and sigh dramatically. "Something is wrong with Malik," she'd say softly. Richard would frown. "What do you mean?" "He doesn't like me," she continued. "He talks back when you're not around. Sometimes I feel unsafe." Richard would sit up. "Unsafe?" Malik would never. "You don't see what I see," Vanessa interrupted, tears welling up. "I'm scared in my own home." The word scared stayed with Richard. Vanessa didn't stop there. One evening, she accused Malik of stealing money from her purse. Another day, she claimed he brought bad friends into the house. "She's lying," Malik said when his father confronted him. "I didn't do any of that." But doubt had already entered Richard's heart. And once doubt takes root, truth struggles to survive. Everything exploded on a rainy Thursday night. Malik had just returned from a job interview, hopeful and tired. As he stepped into the living room, he saw his father standing stiffly. Vanessa sat on the couch, arms crossed, eyes red. "What's going on?" Malik asked. Richard's voice was cold. "Sit down." Malik's stomach dropped. Vanessa stood up dramatically. "I didn't want to say this," she began, "but I can't stay silent anymore." Malik looked at her, confused. "Say what?" She turned to Richard. "I saw him going through our bedroom. He was holding your documents." "That's a lie," Malik shouted. Richard raised his hand. "Enough." Vanessa continued, her voice shaking. "And last night, he threatened me. He said this house would be his one day, whether I liked it or not." Malik felt like the ground disappeared beneath him. "That's not true. Dad, you know me." Richard's eyes were filled with anger and disappointment. "How long has this been going on?" "I've been protecting you," Vanessa whispered. "But I'm afraid." Richard turned to Malik. "Pack your things," he said. Malik froze. "What?" "You can't stay here anymore." Rain poured as Malik dragged his suitcase onto the porch. "Dad, please," he begged. "You're making a mistake." Richard stood firm. "You disrespected my wife. You crossed a line." Vanessa stood behind him, silent, but satisfied. Malik's voice broke. "I'm your son." "And I'm your father," Richard replied. "Which is why I won't tolerate this." The door closed. The lock clicked. And just like that, Malik was homeless. He stood there in the rain, staring at the house that had raised him, now rejecting him. That night, Malik slept in his car, and cried until sunrise. The next few months were the hardest of Malik's life. He couch-surfed with friends, worked odd jobs, and applied endlessly for work. Rejection followed rejection. Sometimes, he replayed that night in his head. If only Dad had listened. But Malik refused to break. He landed a job at a logistics startup as an entry-level analyst. The pay was small, but the opportunity was big. He worked harder than everyone else. Late nights. Early mornings. No excuses. Pain became fuel. By 2026, Malik was no longer struggling. The startup exploded into a major tech logistics firm. Malik's ideas helped streamline operations across multiple states. Promotions followed. Then equity. Then money. Real money. Malik bought a modest condo. Then another. Then invested quietly. He never posted online. Never bragged. Never looked back. And his father? Still believed Vanessa's lies. Vanessa's lies began to unravel the way all lies do. Slowly, then suddenly. She started arguing with Richard over money. She was caught lying to family members. One day, Richard found missing documents, the same ones Vanessa once accused Malik of touching. Suspicion crept in. Then guilt. The final blow came when Vanessa was overheard on the phone. "I needed him gone," she said casually. Malik was in the way. Richard felt his chest tighten. "What did you say?" he asked, stepping into the room. Vanessa froze. The truth spilled out, every lie, every manipulation. Richard collapsed into a chair. "I threw my son out," he whispered. Richard tried calling Malik. No answer. He drove to Malik's old number. Wrong address. For the first time, Richard tasted abandonment. And it burned. Months later, Richard attended a business conference. The keynote speaker stepped on stage. Malik Johnson. Confident. Successful. Richard's legs trembled. After the event, he approached him. "Son." Malik turned slowly. "Sir," he replied politely. The distance hurt more than anger ever could. Richard apologized through tears. "I failed you." Malik listened. "I forgive you," Malik said quietly. "But forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to how they were." Vanessa was gone. The house felt empty. And consequences remained. Malik walked away lighter. He had built himself without hatred. Without revenge. Only truth. And in the end, the lie that drove him out became the very thing that revealed who he truly was. Malik walked away from the conference hall without looking back. Not because he hated his father, but because some wounds don't bleed anymore, they scar. Richard stood frozen, watching his son disappear into a crowd of executives, assistants, and security personnel. The son he once threw into the rain was now surrounded by respect. That night, Richard couldn't sleep. He kept replaying Malik's voice. "I forgive you, but forgiveness doesn't mean access." Those words hurt more than any insult. Vanessa was gone now, left quietly after the truth came out. No apology. No remorse. Just excuses and blame. The house felt empty. For the first time in years, Richard sat alone at the dining table and whispered, "I chose wrong." Malik's success didn't erase his pain. He still remembered sleeping in his car. Still remembered the hunger. Still remembered begging his own father to listen. At night, those memories crept in. Aisha, his partner now, noticed the silence. "You don't talk about your father," she said gently one evening. Malik sighed. "Because every time I do, I remember the night I stopped being a son." Aisha took his hand. "You survived what should have broken you." "But it still shaped me," Malik replied. And that was the truth. Richard started therapy. Something he once mocked. But guilt is a powerful teacher. "I abandoned my child," he confessed to the therapist. Over a lie. The therapist asked, "What would you say to him now?" Richard's voice cracked. "That I should have protected him." Too late didn't mean meaningless, but it did mean limited. As Richard reviewed old financial records, another truth surfaced. Vanessa hadn't just lied. She had been siphoning money. signing unauthorized checks, manipulating assets. The betrayal was deeper than emotion. It was criminal. Richard reported it, not out of revenge, but accountability. Malik received an unexpected letter, handwritten, from his father. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a relationship. But I need you to know, I see now. And I am sorry. Malik stared at the paper for a long time, then folded it carefully. He didn't respond. Not yet. Malik launched a foundation, the Johnson Second Chance Initiative. It helped young adults who were kicked out of their homes, wrongly accused, abandoned by family. He didn't advertise it, but the impact spoke loudly. Ironically, his story began reaching people who needed it most. At a charity gala, Malik was asked a question on stage. What motivated your success? The room went silent. Malik paused. Being rejected by the people who should have protected me, he said calmly. No names. No bitterness. Just truth. Richard watched the live stream and cried. Months later, Malik agreed to meet his father. Public place. Short time. Clear boundaries. Richard arrived early. When Malik sat down, Richard stood. I don't deserve this, he said. Malik nodded. I know. That honesty shocked him. They talked, not as father and son, but as two men facing the consequences of choices. When they parted, Malik said one final thing. I forgave you for my peace, not to restore what you broke. Richard understood. Vanessa was charged. Her image shattered. Friends vanished. Family distanced themselves. The lies that once empowered her now isolated her. And Malik? He felt nothing. Not joy. Not revenge. Just closure. Malik married Aisha quietly. No drama. No big announcements. Richard was not invited. Not as punishment, but as truth. Love requires trust. And trust, once broken, takes time. Years later, Malik drove past his old home. The porch looked smaller. The house quieter. He didn't stop. Some chapters are remembered, not revisited. Malik stood on the balcony of his home, watching the city lights. He had built a life not based on approval, but on purpose. The lie that expelled him had unknowingly set him free. He was driven out by a lie, but he returned to himself through truth. And sometimes, that's the greatest victory of all.